All right, let's talk about pitching. Today, we're diving into the big ideas from the book Pitch Anything. We're going to peel back the layers and get right to the core of what makes a pitch work or what makes it fail. And here's a hint. It has almost nothing to do with logic and everything to do with tapping into the most primal part of the human brain. You know the feeling, right? You've got the perfect idea, the airtight logic, the numbers all line up, but you still walk away with a no. It is incredibly frustrating. Well, the reason why that happens, as we're about to find out, has way more to do with psychology than it does with your PowerPoint deck. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to meet the real decision maker in your audience's head. Then I'll show you exactly how to control the entire vibe of a room. After that, we'll talk about how to create genuine desire, get rid of the one thing that kills every deal, and finally, I'll give you one simple move you can use literally the second this is over. Okay, let's jump in. First up, meeting the brain you're actually talking to. This is so fundamental because the biggest mistake almost everyone makes is aiming their brilliant message at completely the wrong target. Think about it like this. We spend all this time building our pitch from our super logical advanced brain, the neocortex. It's full of data, features, all that good stuff. But here's the problem. That message doesn't go straight to their logical brain. Nope. It first has to pass through a much older, much more primitive filter. We'll call it the Croc Brain. And that part of the brain couldn't care less about your quarterly projections. It only cares about one thing, survival. And this Croc Brain has a really, really simple filtering system. It basically has 3 settings. If your pitch is boring, you're ignored. Deleted. If it seems even a little bit threatening, it's fight or flight. And if it's too complicated, it gets squashed down into a simple, often wrong, summary. The main takeaway here is, before your logic can even be heard, you have to get past this ancient security guard at the gate. So how do you get past that guard? How do you speak its language? Well, that brings us to our second big idea. You have to control the frame. This is the secret to not just getting heard, but to owning the entire interaction. So what is a frame? It's basically the context, the lens through which you're both seeing the situation. Is this a job interview? A sales pitch? A casual chat between equals? That's the frame. And here's the absolute rule. In every single interaction, one person's frame will dominate the others. There are no ties. And this is so critical to get. Frames don't gently mate in the middle and compromise. They slam into each other. It's a collision. And the stronger one literally absorbs the weaker one. It redefines reality for everyone in the room. If you find yourself reacting to their agenda and their rules, guess what? You're in their frame, and you've already lost. So, how do you make sure your frame is the strong one? You do it with what's called the prize frame. This is a total mental flip. You stop trying to convince them, and you start acting like you are the prize they need to win over. You're the one with the value. They need to qualify themselves to you. The second they start chasing you, you own the frame. Game over. Okay, so you've taken control of the frame. You're the prize. Now what? You have to fill that frame with something that actually makes them want what you're offering. This leads us to our third lesson. Igniting what's called hot cognition. You got to make them desire it before their logical brain even kicks in. And here's another one of those hard and fast rules of the brain. You simply cannot be analyzing something deeply, that's cold cognition. At the same time, you're feeling a burning desire for it, that's hot cognition. They are mutually exclusive. So to make somebody truly want your idea, you have to find a way to temporarily bypass their inner spreadsheet analyst. So how do you do that? What's the shortcut to desire? It's one word: novelty. Our brains are hardwired to go on high alert for anything that's new, surprising, or just plain different. When the Croc Brain sees something novel, it shoots off a little burst of dopamine, which is basically the motivation chemical. It's what makes us lean in and say, "Whoa, tell me more." And you know, one of the best ways to create that novelty is through intrigue. You tell a story, you build tension, you create stakes, you get your hero to the edge of the cliff, and then you stop. You don't resolve it right away. That unresolved tension is what creates that powerful feeling of intrigue, making our audience desperate to find out what happens next. Now, let's talk about the one thing that can sabotage everything we've just covered. It's a quiet, subtle force, but it is the silent killer that will sink your pitch faster than anything else. And that is neediness. Remember our friend the Croc Brain? It is on constant lookout for signs of weakness because for millions of years, weakness has meant danger.
When you come across as needy, like you're seeking approval or desperate for the deal, you are basically screaming, "I am weak," to the most primal part of their brain, and it finds that repulsive.
So what's the antidote? How do you get rid of it? It's this simple 3-part mindset. Step 1, want nothing. Be genuinely okay with walking away with nothing. Step 2, be excellent. Just focus on delivering your absolute best performance. And step 3, withdraw. Always maintain the posture that you are willing and able to walk away. This creates an incredibly powerful aura. Because as we all know, people always want what they can't quite have.
Okay, enough theory. We've covered a lot. Let's make this super practical. I want to give you one powerful move you can literally use in your very next meeting to put all of this into action. We're going to call this the power-busting frame. The whole goal is to grab control of the frame right away, within the first 10 or 20 seconds. And you do it with a really simple, kind of playful act of defiance that flips the whole power dynamic on its head. Here's a classic example. You walk in, and they say something like, "Thanks for coming, I've only got about 15 minutes. That's a power move. They're setting the frame. You're on their clock. Your move? You smile and say, "Perfect, I've only got 10. See what that does? It's a small, lighthearted move that instantly reframes the entire meeting. You're not a subordinate asking for their time. You're a busy, important peer. The dynamic is now one of equals. And that really brings us to the core of it all. Every conversation, every meeting, every single social interaction you have is taking place inside one of these invisible frames. Now that you can see them, you have a choice. So the question I want to leave you with is this. In your next conversation, whose frame are you going to be in? Theirs or yours?